difference is still entertaining, and you expect from art not a mere repetition, but another opening. Whereas in what's called culture, which are not diachronic but synchronic, that don't have a sense of time moving onwards, you have the great idea of repetition, where the artist is expected to do exactly the same again and again, because the meaning is concretely attached to the work of art and you cannot separate it. So even if the people up the river are doing something much better, you wouldn't even dare to entertain the possibility of borrowing from them something to make your work better, because that will infringe a meaning that belongs to that particular clan, tribe, or whatever. So in tribal art, you see the repetition in a different kind of performing different tasks. And the West prides itself for the idea of, in some sense, the idea of openness is of course acknowledged. Because you do not expect a mere repetition. You expect that new meanings can be created by new works of art that are relatively free themselves from tradition and so on. And indeed, on the contrary, in the West, quite often, the reference to the past was used in order to subvert a certain belief, certain current ideas and so on. And the references to the past were very important precisely in order to achieve the opposite, in order to achieve something very different. So these questions that you raise are very much part of the discussion, and they are not, how should I say, they are open. It is extremely difficult to learn from experience.
Sorry, the Thomas Hershaw and Bataille, they seem to have a fit, but Bataille and Corbusier, the fact that he carried Bataille and what Bataille stood for, how do you read that? The fact you gave that bit of information.
Well, I can tell you a little more. I can say, you know, life is sometimes terribly simple in the sense that Bataille was a neighbor of Corbusier in Vézelay. Gift was published in '49, and the original publication was only, I think, something like 56 copies. And one of them, Bataille dedicated to Corbusier. And that is the book which he traveled with to Punjab. And there he recognized, thanks to the book, he recognized the gift in his own work. And that is and indeed, in the case of Chandigarh, it was just right that he read this book and felt that the work is a gift, because, as you know, the compensation was very poor.
There seems to be, not in the way you presented, I was with you entirely, but in the way you answered Vivan's question, I think you actually problematize your own position, if I may say so, in the context in which you are here, on which you participate in the this kind of a community workshop situation. For example, if you go to Dharavi and there you participate in the kind of program that Rahul and Matthias do, to me it raises a problematic, because this realm I recognize completely, I identify completely with, because I belong to the precisely to the realm of the autonomy of the artist as maker, and the significance of that moment, the poiesis, and the investment, the immanence of the object, which is the endowment of that moment of making into the object, and the way the object retains the immanence, that moment as immanent. So, I mean, this is perfectly recognized, and my belief is located here. But when you transfer this model onto a communitarian structure where you are here participating, whether in Khidki or in Dharavi or in Tokyo presumably, then I think that the issue of violence, which can be perfectly understood, explained, interpreted and validated in the making of art, could have a problem, because the violence here has to have some sort of a reciprocal acceptance, and then there has to be some agency on the part of the receiver to either contradict, counter, or to meet violence with violence. So, and the entire work in Dharavi, and Rahul would be able to correct me if I'm wrong or endorse, has been precisely not to impose a priori solutions or to think on behalf of the community that lives in Dharavi by the freedom and method of chance or of the creative moment that the artist can exercise in the autonomy of their studio or in the autonomy of the art world. I think that the entire debate within communitarian structures and urban change, not development, but urban change would be precisely the reciprocity rather than the gift.
Well, you're right, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't belong there, in the sense that in order to make oneself available in that sense to a community, one has to have the capacity that you agree upon in relation to the individual architect or an artist. So when I go to Dharavi or a place like this, I do not expect that these poiesis will occur here. I expect that my ability to reach that point will enable me to participate in something communal. I mean, this is the problem, of course. You're right that in that sense, this is the raison d'être, that is the argument that in fact Plato's argument in the Republic.
Yeah.
And from this point of view,
in a more fascistic way.
Well, there is some justice in that question. I mean, this is the question that you constructed, and it is true that when one is in a certain situation like this, then your capacity as an autonomous artist or whatever is in fact compromised. But I believe that it's compromised. The question is on what basis, you see. I believe that if you are capable of that moment, that you don't expect that moment in that context, but you expect that moment to inspire you in that communal context. So your capacity to, for example, to invent solutions that the local people might not have thought about. I mean, for example, we invented both in Tokyo and in Dharavi, for example, we offer them the possibility of finding their voice. I mean, they would not have it for themselves, especially in Dharavi. They could not imagine that they have a voice, that they could be clients, that they could have a program, that they could make demands, that they could negotiate on basis of that. We have to give it to them. And what gives us the possibility of giving to them is that. It's because we are capable of this that we are capable of giving them something of that gift. And that is the gift. The gift is not that I get something from them. The gift is that I can give it to them.
Yeah,
that is the gift.
This is such a highly privileged position that
It
you're
is.
looking from.
It
I
is.
mean, this,
But what's wrong with my higher privileged position?
No, but this is perfectly fine within the kind of, this is surely the questioning of this precise privilege. To the extent that I restrict myself to the understanding and participation in